And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success Morning Coffee. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Back again. It's been a while. It's been a while since we did a solo episode. We had a Memorial Day last Monday, so I decided not to do an episode. And then Wednesday, we did a book review with Robert Watson. Art is Victorious. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, go check that out. Great book. Talks about a lot of the things that we talk about on Shaping Success. For those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that, over time, this has kind of evolved and changed and become something different over and over again, which leads into kind of some of the topics that I want to talk to you about today. But it's kind of funny because I'm always trying to improve, always trying to make it better, always trying to figure out a way to make the show better. And when I started Shaping Success over 5 years ago, I was in a different place in my life. I was thinking about things differently. I was acting a different way. I was the type of person who was kind of angry and always trying to figure out how to make things better and try to work towards a more common goal, but thinking of it as the glass half empty and being kind of in a negative headspace is the way that I would look at it. Like thinking of it as if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be upset. If it did happen, I'd be surprised type of way. And now I expect it to happen. And no matter what that is, I expect it to happen. And that's why it's kind of a generalized statement. And the type of things that I do all relate to me trying to just be better every single day. So we'll bust into some of these topics in a little bit, just kind of give you an idea of what's going on around here. I just been working out in the yard a lot. You got 3 acres, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to take care of things. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been working through that. I've been trying to get everything squared away out here. Yesterday, I did a lot of weeding, mowed the lawn, did some edging. We're working on getting some curbing going on so that we can get the yard a little bit more squared away. We did some garden beds, and I still got 2 acres that I need to get mowed. I feel like I spray weeds nonstop. I was out, I did 2 backpack sprayers of Roundup the other day. So it was kind of a crazy thing. Fire isn't the answer. You are correct. So we got a bunch of people here cruising in. So we do this live on TikTok. We do this live. What's up, Nikki? On YouTube, Facebook. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please just hit the subscribe button. You can hit a link in my bio if you want to find the YouTube channel at Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley. And that may be changing, but we'll see what's going on with that. That's kind of the process that you go through when you're trying to evolve and change and push and move forward. And I continue to do that with the podcast. So like I said, I appreciate your support. We'll talk about Patreon. We'll talk about subscribing here on TikTok as well, because we're going to do a little bit of a shift here. We're working on trying to figure out what that's going to look like. Probably going to go from a co-host, from just me being a singular host to having a co-host with me. And working through more topics, which is kind of what we're doing, but then to have a different view of that. And I appreciate y'all being here and moving along with me on that. If you haven't checked out the old episodes, there's been a lot of podcast downloads lately, which is interesting because it's been kind of slow for a while, and then all of a sudden it's bumping. So like last week's episode got quite a few downloads. And when I say quite a few downloads, what I'm talking about is let's see, we'll look at it today, what it says today. In the last 7 days, we got 42 downloads last week on last week's episode with Robert Watson. So that's kind of where this is going. I'm thinking that I'm going to stop. I stopped doing interviews a while back, and it's not saying that I'm not going to do interviews anymore. It's just saying that for the time being, this is what I want to do. It gives me a lot of time. So getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning allows me to come out here and do this, or I get up at 4:15, but it allows me to come out here and do this. Now, trying to get a person to want to jump on and do an interview at 5 my time, which is when I record, or 6 their time or 7 their time, is kind of tough because they typically have a schedule where they can do whatever they want. And so why would they want to get up that early in the morning where I don't? I have a full-time job. I work all day, and I have a big giant schedule ahead of me today because it always seems that Monday or Sunday night or Monday morning, that's when people decide that they want to come back and either purchase or ask me for more quotes, which takes time and it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And it pays my bills. So I can't look at it as an annoying thing. I have to be thankful and have gratitude towards the fact that I actually get an opportunity to try and sell to them. So that's the difference between what it was. Like, I used to be really angry about it. And right now it's still a work in progress trying to get through that. But that is how it goes. Like, it is still a work in progress, but I'll sit there and I'll be mad about it. It's like, why couldn't you just purchase from me when I was there in the first place? And then I flip it to, at least I have the opportunity to get it done, because I like to go into the house. I like to show them what they're looking at. I like to give them a quote, and I like to take their money. I don't like to sit there and wait and hope and then walk away. But there are people who have to think about it, and that's okay. It is what it is. So I was listening to a book in which I think you guys should all check this book out, even if you are not a salesman, because this book is called The Greatest Salesman. And it's by, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm going to have to look it up. Anyway, The Greatest Salesman talks about, and I listened to Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights, and it's funny. I had to take a quick trip to Seattle the other day as a salesman, because I had to go to, my boss asked me if I'd go to this, it's by Og Mandino. Okay, it's called The Greatest Salesman. And my boss asked me if I would go to Seattle for a quick trip and go check out a manufacturer that we deal with. And they'll show us some of their product, which is great because I don't typically sell this manufacturer. And I'm not saying that I'm going to sell more. I should say that I'm going to sell more of this manufacturers. But at first I was kind of a little on the fence about it, because I like to sell stuff that, and I sell window coverings for those of you who know, I like to sell stuff that I believe in and I think is a great, we'll see you, Joe. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you hopping in here on TikTok. I like to sell things that I believe in, that I think are really good quality product. But I also have this mentality that we have to do what's best for the company as well. And sometimes I don't give these manufacturers a fair shake. So, I went in there with an open mind to look at their product and decide if it is something that I would sell more of or why I don't. Asked the questions that I needed to ask, figured out the things that I needed to figure out. And it was interesting to sit there and look at a different side of that. Because if I wouldn't buy it myself, I don't expect someone else to buy it. And until now, I would have sold they have some really good shutters and they have some really good blinds. And that's pretty much all I would sell of their product. But I started looking through it. They showed me some other products. They showed me some of the things that are going through with it. And I just had kind of a little bit of a change of heart, change of mind. And I may start selling a few more of their products just because I had an open mind about it, even though I typically don't change my mind unless they can prove anything different. But the situation was as followed. They're talking about their product and how their product has less manufacturer remakes. Well, if it has less manufacturer remakes, then what that means is the only errors that you really have to worry about, which is the error that I always have to worry about, is me measuring the window wrong. And I can't worry about that because I know that I'm good at what I do and I do my job and I make sure that I do it to the best of my ability every single time. But what happens when a manufacturer defect has happened is that we have to go back and we have to repair that. We have to replace that. We have to do all these things. We have to do more work. We have to send an installer back out there. And in turn, we typically lose money because we have to go back out there again. And then we have a customer who's not happy. We don't have a very good retention rate, all those things. So it can all snowball and be that thing. So in my mind, if there is less remakes on this product and it operates better than another product that I sell, then I probably would sell that more so that I can be able to save money for the company. Does it really save me money in my pocket? No, but what it does is it makes my customers believe that they've got a good product and I have their best intentions and heart at mine. So anyway, the book isn't really about sales. It talked about a lot of things, but a couple of the things that it talked about was failure. And as a salesperson, that's where a lot of this stuff goes in, because my only competition typically is myself. Like, I think about what I can do to be the best me as possible. And if I fail, which you got to think about this, I am one of the top salesmen, if not the top salesman in my job, right? So I have a closing ratio of around 60%, which means that 2 out of 3 times I sell the product. That means that I fail once, right? And so he was talking about, they have these golden scrolls, or these scrolls that this guy has handed down, and has 10 scrolls in this, and it's loosely based on the Bible. There's a lot of things going on with it, but one of the lines in there was, he who has never failed is he who has never tried. And I think that a lot of us are afraid to do things because we're afraid of failing. But if you have never failed, then have you ever tried? Because not many people get things on the first try. And so what I have done, and it talks about this as well, here's one more line. It says, failure will never overtake you if your determination to succeed is strong enough. So, is your determination to succeed strong enough? Are you willing to do the extra work? Are you willing to keep going when it gets hard? And that is something to really think about. So he who has never failed has never tried, and failure will never overtake you if your determination to succeed is strong enough. It goes hand in hand, right? It goes hand in hand, because you have to be willing to work your butt off and be determined. I could give it up, right? I went in there and, like I said, 2 out of 3 times, or just like a baseball player, their failure rate is even more. They're successful. If they're successful 3 out of 10 times, then they're a successful baseball player. I'm always trying to keep it above 50. So at least half of the houses that I go to, I try to sell it to. There are some people who are bound and determined not to spend any money. There are some people who don't have any idea about what's going on, what it's going to cost. And you can't control that self. But what you can control is how hard or how much you go in there and educate them and create a place for them to buy. Create the situation that is going to make them happy and things like that. And Michelle says over on TikTok, fail forward, as her buddy Jacob Brown says, which is totally true. No matter what, just because you fail doesn't mean that it's over. Okay, so again, be determined. Your determination has got to be strong enough to succeed. Okay? One of the things that I do is create habits, right? I've created these habits. Now, sometimes you can look at me and say, well, my habits aren't that great, because like with this podcast, I told you at the beginning of the year, I'm going to try and do it every single day. That's turned into, I'm going to do it 3 days a week, which has turned into 2 days a week, because I'm starting to try and figure out, and I'm trying to decide what is going to work best. One thing is for certain is that I have done this podcast for 5 years without fail. It's gotten much better every single time every single year, because I've figured out the best way to make it happen. I've created this habit of what it's going to do. Now I'm trying to just hone that habit and figure out what's going to be best. So continuing to do it, even when I have as little as 42 downloads on an episode, which there are these podcasters who have over 10,000 downloads on an episode. But I'm in this space and I know where I am, and I know what's going on, and I know what it's going to take to make it happen. I just have to continue to be consistent. Okay? So I created the habit of showing up every single day. Well, in my daily job, I've created a bunch of habits that have put it in place for me to be successful when I'm there. I want to make sure that I do not leave the house unless the customer says, hey, you're not going to do it. Not today. I'm not buying. Like, I want you to know right now, I'm going to set this precedence with you up front. I am not buying today. I have 3 other quotes, and other people will be here. I'm not accepting your quote as the number 1. So if you do not want to quote it in the house, you do not have to, because I'm not buying today. All right. Well, I have to tell you how many times I have changed their mind in their house, and they've told me they're going to get multiple quotes, and then they look at the quote that they got from me and they're like, we'll cancel those other ones. Let's go. So just because they say that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. But if you accept the fact that they said that, then there you go. Okay. You have the choice. Okay. So I create these habits. So I walk into the house, I figure out what they want. I talk to them. Sometimes they have no clue what they want. Well, I've developed these questions that I can ask them to head them off at the pass, so that I don't have to bring in every single freaking sample book I have. If you look in the back of my truck, there's, I don't know, probably 30 sample books. Different products, different brands, different things like that. So you walk in there and you try to determine what kind of spender they are. Are they looking for the best product? Are they looking for something just to cover their window? Do they want to control light? Do they want to just cover up the window? Are they looking for privacy, but they like their view? There's all these questions that I've learned and developed over 5 years to ask them so that I can get to the bottom of what they're looking for. Then I measure it. We've picked out the product, talk about color, talk about operating, talk about all those things. Like I have this process that I do every single time. And then when I'm done, I go out and quote it and I come back in and ask for their money. At that point, they either give it to me or they don't. But bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. So if you do not have good habits about the way that you do them, and I think about it, there's times where I walk into these houses and I think about how I sold something 2 years ago versus how I sell it now, because I'm always trying to improve. It's a completely different situation. I am definitely a better salesman than I was 5 years ago. I am definitely a better podcaster than I was 5 years ago. I'm definitely a better salesman today than I was yesterday. I'm definitely a better podcaster. And so you continue to develop those habits and think about those situations and the way that you do things, and you will see. Good habits will move you forward. Bad habits will unlock the door to failure. So develop those good habits. Think about what it is, whatever you're doing, and figure out the best way to make it happen. Okay? And that, this last thing that I'm going to say right now here is kind of part of that whole deal. So let's do a little recap here. He who has never failed has never tried. Failure is part of being successful. Failure will never overtake you if your determination to succeed is strong enough. Okay? Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. And then this is something that I take to heart. I will form good habits and become their slave. And that's what I do. I form the habits. And if they're not good, you know what happen? You'll find out if they're not good, you're always trying to tweak it and always trying to make it better and always start to think about things. And it's funny because you think about, I was thinking as I'm listening to this guy, what can I take away from this place? Even if I don't like the product, even if I don't ever sell them, what can I take away? And I had a really good conversation with one of the area managers. I sat next to him next to dinner and heard him say some things, right? And I'm just like, oh, that's crazy. I've never thought about that. People talk about window coverings and like what they're looking for. And if you don't know, it starts like with blinds. That is the most economical thing you can buy. You learn how to say that's the cheapest thing in a different way. It's economical. It's affordable. People can buy it. But it is also an entry-level disposable product. And that's something that I learned. I will use that in my dialogue with customers. Hey, I'm looking for something to cover my windows. Okay, great. We can start with this. This is an entry-level disposable product. It's not going to last you forever. You can do this. It will last longer. You can do this. It will be better. And a lot of times when people don't think that they have the money for anything other than the entry-level disposable product, they may decide that they want to have something better, and you have to go at it that way. If you go in there believing that your product or whatever you're doing is not good enough, guess what? It's not going to be good enough, and you will not be successful. So today, as you go through your day, I want you to think about that. The most important one out of all of these is that I think about a lot. Failure will never overtake you if your determination to succeed is strong enough. Have that determination to succeed no matter what it is. Even if you fail, as Michelle said over here, fail forward. Keep going. Don't stop. Because success is around the corner. If you would like to subscribe, you can right here on TikTok. Go ahead and do that. I have 5 subscribers: Lance Ayers, Nikki Pavlovich, Michelle, Clarity Anchor, Frank Hogue, and who's the other one? I don't know. Anna Milan over on Patreon, and Nikki Pavlovich. Nikki is the other one, Nikki Pavlovich. I forget about Nikki sometimes because she is always here, always supportive. If you check out all the shorts on YouTube, she posts those. I'm so thankful for her to help me with that because I am running out of time on everything I do. But please go subscribe to the YouTube, follow me here on TikTok, and help me to help you see that success is in the eye of the beholder. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.